Female anchor Du Xian was barred from ever presenting the news again. The official forgetting had begun. Yove Che, whose husband died in 1989, is working against this forced amnesia. She wants to remember June 4th and regularly meets others who lost loved ones that day. But they say the state is bullying and watching them.
If everyone in this country had access to information about what happened, they'd be furious. But the government has concealed it for 30 years. Just because young people today know very little about it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Indeed, it did happen, but the subject is off limits for the Chinese leadership. Forgetting and suppression instead of remembering, silence and no apology. But not everyone is playing along.
Joining me now is Louisa Lim, author of The People's Republic of Amnesia, Tiananmen Revisited, a book about the power of propaganda. Louisa, give us a sense of just how thorough the erasure and propaganda has been.
The erasure has been surprisingly effective in China, and particularly amongst young people, those people who were not yet born at the time in 1989. When I was writing my book, I went around the campuses of 4 universities, and I asked 100 students whether they could identify the picture of Tank Man, that famous picture of the young man standing in front of a line of tanks, and only 15 out of 100 people knew what it was. And it was interesting because it was really obvious who knew what it was and who didn't, just from their body language. So it was quite clear, also from the questions that they asked me, that they simply had never seen this image before. And that was something that really surprised me.
There are 1.4 billion people in China. I know that you did a little bit of a poll on the college campus, but is it really possible that the vast majority of people in China have no idea Tiananmen happened? And is it possible that some people do know, they just can't talk about it openly?
Well, I mean, for sure, there were people who lived through those events and then have decided over time not to talk about them. And I think what we've seen is that the real cost of active acts of memory, of talking about what happened, of commemorating it in any way has become higher and higher. And so people have made the decision not to remember, not to talk about it, and to erase it from their own memories. But we're also seeing quite a lot of evidence that even young people who might be in a position to know don't. I mean, we saw one instance where a newspaper printed a picture of students or people with bullet wounds being rushed to hospital from 1989. And the reason that picture was printed was because no one working at the newspaper, not the page editor or the picture editor, not even the censor, no one recognized what that picture was. So it's a real sign that the collective institutional memory of June the 4th has been quite effectively erased.
Is there any scenario you think that it's possible the Chinese government would finally acknowledge what happened in 1989?
I mean, they don't deny what happened. It's just that the government is not changing its line on it. And this year we've seen comments from a government official, from the defense minister, and also an editorial in a government newspaper in the Global Times, which really sort of doubles down on the government position and says what we did back then was right. In fact, the editorial says this move inoculated China against future turmoil and so allowed China to become rich and powerful. So that's the government line, and that shows absolutely no sign of changing anytime soon.
Louisa Lim, thank you.
Thank you.
It challenged their legitimacy, and therefore it's important for us in Hong Kong, when we have freedom to do so, to tell the world, to tell the people in China that this is the regime that had killed its own people.
In mainland China, this is considered an extremely sensitive anniversary, and the security services have been cracking down on anybody who might speak out against it. Former student leaders, the mothers of some of the students who were killed, really anybody at all has been detained or interrogated. Those 1989 protests saw more than 1 million students and workers and others out on the streets of Beijing, including Tiananmen Square, right in the middle of power within that country. There has been a lot of talk about what actually happened, whether the students could have succeeded in getting democracy. They looked like they were close a few times, but in the end, the government, which was divided for 7 weeks, decided to send in the troops. And those troops fired on the students. Hundreds were killed, perhaps even thousands. Nobody really knows the true number. There has been some comment in the last few days, an unusual comment from the Chinese government characterizing their response at the time as correct. This is what the defense minister had to say. That was political turmoil the central government needed to suppress, says Wei Fenghe. Due to that, China's enjoyed stability and development, he says. Here in Hong Kong, among students and among those going to the vigil who think it is very important to mark this event, that's a trade-off they simply don't accept. Sasha Petrusek, CBC News, Hong Kong.
Le mois de mai ne donnait pas de fleurs. On respirait le silence et la peur. Des jeunes gens ont sillonné la ville en espérant un été plus fertile. En espérant un été plus fertile. Ils sont arrivés sur la place. Ils se sont aimés. Ils ont trébuché sur la place. Ils sont tombés. Ils sont tombés. Ils sont tombés. Ils ont dansé devant les mitrailleurs. La liberté faisait chanter les chœurs. Les mitrailleurs n'ont pas aimé leur jeu. Et vers 3 heures, ils ont ouvert le feu. Vers 3 heures, ils ont ouvert le feu. Ils sont arrivés sur la place. Ils se sont aimés. Ils ont trébuché sur la place. Ils sont tombés. Ils sont tombés. Ils sont tombés. Lorsque les corps ont à peine 20 ans, est-ce que les morts seraient moins importants? Vous, les enfants de Chine et de partout, chaque printemps me parlera de vous. Chaque printemps me parlera de vous. Ils sont arrivés sur la place. Ils se sont aimés. Ils ont trébuché sur la place. Ils sont tombés. Ils sont tombés. Ils sont tombés. Ils sont arrivés sur la place. Ils se sont aimés. Ils ont trébuché sur la place. Ils sont tombés. Ils sont tombés.